Hello and welcome to Talk Gnosis. Today we're going to be talking about the new book, A Path to the Grail, Dion Fortune's Guild of the Master Jesus. We've got Christian Gilson, who's edited the material, compiled it, went through the archives, did commentary on it. This is going to be a really awesome show about a really fascinating, underknown topic. To be honest, it's a topic that I wasn't really aware of. I saw in passing that Dion Fortune did have the Guild of the Master Jesus. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about the material. I recently got a copy of the book. I'm excited to dive in. I'm excited to talk to you, Christian. Can we start off right at the top for those at home who may not be familiar? Who was Dion Fortune?
Okay, so she was a British esoteric occultist who was also a clinical psychologist who in the 1920s and 30s founded an organization which was called Society of Fraternity of Light. She did so having been for a while in the Theosophical Society, Gold Dawn. She decided that these were not Irish. She wanted something other, something different, something with a slightly more Christian.
Hey, okay.
Mostly it.
I think that's awesome. So, talking about this this Christian angle, what is the Guild of the Master Jesus? And part two of that question is, what inspired you to edit, comment, release some of this material?
So, in the 1920s, she sat down and looked at what was available to her as a Christian, some Christian songs, and she felt it just wasn't suitable for somebody who was on esoteric path. Anyways, the church was already on the road to ethical, thinking about human being function, losing the mystical side. And she wanted a service that kept mystical nature. And so what she did is she rewrote the whole service and produced this brand new, was a mass of people had such a mystical understanding, interested in just experience, and who were on her way yet, were looking for a more esoteric way of doing things. So they wrote it in the 1920s. It met regularly on a Sunday morning. People could come along, needed special members. And that's really how it started, what it was about. In the material itself, she realized what she'd written the mass. The people coming weren't really understand what she'd done it. So what she did is she wrote 50, which were published in her in-house journal, that explained not only why she did it, but the principles behind it, also how to do it. Because you have to, she intended priesthood. So what she wanted is people to be able to understand how to visualize, how to the idea, how to participate. It shouldn't just be about the audience sitting watching as a traditional congregation, but a congregation engaged, who were part of the whole thing. That was made to bring everybody in. Everyone was raised to serve, not just those leaders.
Right. And what was her own Christian background? Was she Church of England? Was she Roman Catholic? What was she coming out of before she sort of embraced a wider occult esoteric world and then started this organization or this mass or whatever we want to call it?
She was pretty much a member of the Church of England. She did like the things that had been going on only a bit part of the church. If you read the article, she constantly talked about the Catholics doing this and Catholics doing. But clearly they weren't doing that, otherwise she'd gone. I think that she saw the Catholic Church that should be very disappointed. Because at the time, of course, the Catholics would have said they would have applied to identity, which she had recognized. She still wanted something English, accessible, which the Church of England wasn't giving.
Yeah, and you mentioned doing it every Sunday. Was it like an open public organization, an open public event? Did she advertise, or was it secret, or did you just have to kind of know a person or know a person who knew a person? How did it kind of work practically?
She actually advertised like a lot of where things are talked or advertised, people came along, people were invited. They would have been a core group who were the group were within charity, but others could come along. There was no sense of these are them, these are that. It was everyone welcome. Okay. As with the lectures, which she gave on a regular basis, and they too were common-sized.
Well, with it being open, I'm just wondering about this concept of a church of initiates. Can you tell me what this phrase means and how it relates to the concept of a priesthood of all believers?
Yeah. So what she was looking at was that many people who are looking for something more spiritual go along to an esoteric group. They join because they wanted certain teachings, certain wisdom, and discipline that isn't necessarily available in the church. They're wanting to be within a group where spiritual development is at the core, is at the heart of what they're about. That they're on a road, not a mystical road, but more a magical road, to understanding themselves, to understand God, uniting. And so, as they travel on that path, they will find various mystery schools in which they were available. The Golden Dawn instead, Crowley was there with the Lima. She wanted something that was different, or she created her own. But she also realized, as well as this ethical work, as well as the esoteric or magical ceremony, you needed a devotion. So she saw that there were three main ranges of paths. There was the thematic, the deific or natural, and the devotion. And so the Guild of the Master Jesus became a devotional path. And for her, truly, it would be a Christian path, because of course she was brought up Christian. It was the main religion of the country at the time, to some degree it still is in the UK. And so she naturally developed something that was there on a Christian basis. And when you look at the idea of an initiate, you're looking at someone who has dedicated themselves to the event, but requires not only Campbell studying the other esoteric doctrines, but also needs to be touching the wild physical world that needs a way of having a prayer life, engagement, or that's different. If that makes sense.
It does, very much so. Thank you. I think that really is an awesome explanation that really kind of wakes things up in my brain for what she's trying to do. And I'm sure everybody listening and watching at home. Now, I'm part of an independent church that's sometimes called the part of the independent sacramental movement. Okay. Which we don't have time to get into now, but has lineages from rogue Catholic bishops, rogue Anglican bishops, the other movements. It's something that was going on then, something that was going on now. So I'm wondering, why this guild and not a whole new church? Why didn't she just announce I'm starting a church? People do that all the time. Even now, around the corner from me is a small evangelical storefront church that somebody just started. Or why not go the independent sacramental route and the link up with a bishop? I'm sure she did plenty, and start a church with the apostolic succession.
I think a good question. I think you're right here is trust that, because what she did is in the opposite. She starts something very quiet, very small. She doesn't want to start a new church. What she wants is a rite people who were looking for something more mystical could come to. She wanted people who would come understand what she was doing and not the general public. It's often said when she created it, it was for the few, like not for the many. And in the sense that she didn't want a structure, she wanted priests and bishops. I think you're totally right. She was going in the walls have their apostolic succession. And very early on, in fact, in the second or third article, she actually says, they don't have it, we don't want it. this is for everyone. She's coming out of a tradition where in the mysteries, she's interested in the Christian of Melchizedek. And so she's picking up on those ideas. How can we be the priesthood and the devotion to our lives, but without having the structure, this authority? She isn't looking to create a brand new theology. She isn't looking to create a whole new system. She wants a simple shells, honest. People can get together and enjoy, but also feel that they, in some way, in touch spiritually, mystically, and engage with that deeper religious experience.
The guild seems to have a unique perspective on many Christian concepts. So somebody who's not familiar with more esoteric, mystical stuff, they're coming to this show for the first time. Do you tell us a bit of these unique perspectives about the nature of prayer and the cosmic Christ? If you can tell us a bit about that concept.
So she comes at Christianity in a very different manner. She sees Jesus as a master, as an inner plane teacher, someone who, in a human life, had achieved perfection, had grown to a point where he had brought his higher self, his spiritual self, into union with his physical, and therefore he had brought self as well into union with the divine. On hearing that, he came to teach. Now, she talks about cosmic Christ not as the person Jesus, but as that energy of God, energy of the divine that works in not the Holy Spirit as such, but of the teaching, the form where we have actually reached point of union. We can unify both our physical selves, our what she calls incarnation self, our evolutionary self, that part of us that continues to grow and move from life to life. She calls it the need of formation. And then the higher spiritual self, the soul, if you will, the ultimate soul, the higher self. She felt that Jesus achieves this, and as he does, then the power of God in the form of Christ, the intellect, comes in to get teach, show the way. So there is a difference between the Master Jesus as a man, as a teacher, and the cosmic Christ as a force from God to enter. So in that sense, she's very Gnostic, rather than mainstream. Most mainstream churches were trying a little bit odd to talk in that way. It's not heretical.
Yeah. And when we talk about, just to clarify, when we use this phrase Master Jesus, when you're talking about the Master Jesus as opposed to the cosmic Christ, even though we're talking about how they're united, does that mean that Jesus is a role model that anybody could reach that state, which would be different from kind of mainstream Christian theology?
Absolutely right. He becomes the goal, the teacher, the one who shows us the path to that union with self, that complete one. And that's what I origin when I talk about the Grail. The Holy Grail is not an object or it was used. The Holy Grail is us. And in the ritual itself, very early on, the leader of the whole ritual actually takes on a pose where they lift their arms for the chalice. And throughout, the congregation are asked to visualize the chalice. The chalice is full, it's the body. Here she's bringing in the Father. But the chalice represents full into that form can come the force. Initially, for us, it's the Holy Spirit, then entering in. But it's entering into us. We are the chalice. But it's easier sometimes to visualize something external to you. Once that's unit, she becomes whole, then you reach the Grail. And that, for me, is what she's really talking about. And Jesus, therefore, becomes the Grail itself. He is essence in which the unification of God, Spirit, man has a whole, perfect human being, united one. And that's what we aim to be. That's why everywhere I call the book of class, because it was a way of kind of showing us how we could follow that master, follow that teacher. And of course, she believed and strongly understood that Jesus was not simply die or pass on. He knew children stage to the reality, which we call the inner flame, and becomes a master, becomes a teacher, becomes the greater is the age.
Yeah. So you've mentioned a few times, of course, in passing, she has this occult background. She's part of these organizations like Golden Dawn, Theosophy. She's sort of starting this movement to, in a way, to sort of connect to these teachings, if I'm understanding it right, without fully being a part of any of these organizations. But I'm wondering if you can talk just a little bit more about the connections between the Guild and other occult and initiatory paths. You know, what's similar, what's different? Do you have to have a lot of knowledge of Hermetic Kabbalah to really get a lot out of this, or can you just sort of clarify and talk about those connections and those differences?
Of course, I think the beauty of the Guild is it's exactly the opposite of all of that. The beauty of the Guild was it was available for everyone. You didn't have to actually go along the Hermetic path. You didn't have to join. You didn't have to have the discipline, study. You didn't have to enter into magical ritual. Here was a simple weekly event in which you could come into contact with God, with the divine, in a more direct way. And it was a way that wasn't going to be preaching at you, telling you we're better than you, we're on top of this. It was a way for the individual to come before God, find their own religious experience, their own touching point. So in that sense, the Guild was often called the outer court of the fraternity. I mean, in some ways, that's true, but in other ways, it's also wrong. I don't think that was ever her intention. I feel her intention was to offer a devotional path for those who only wanted devotion, and to offer something that those who wanted more than the church was giving to come and get. But those who didn't want to get into reading the mystical Kabbalah, getting into the deeper works that were around, they wanted something that was personal and direct. So it differs in that sense. So you won't find in the Guild any work on energies, you won't find trance, meditation. In that sense, what you have is a simple prayer system that takes you slowly and gently towards visualization and a realization of the Holy Spirit.
Right. So her Fraternity of the Inner Light, Society of the Inner Light, the Guild of the Master Jesus wasn't just for them, and it wasn't it wasn't a public-facing organization to funnel people into the Society of the Inner Light. But if you were a member of the Society of the Inner Light, obviously you'd probably get a lot out of attending the Guild of the Master Jesus. But if you had no interest in her organization or other occult organizations, you would still get a lot out of the Guild of the Master Jesus. It was there for you, maybe even more there for you. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Particularly, you know, we're talking, you know, the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, mainstream Christian morality, both then and now. I think a lot of people would say that it has some negative aspects, particularly around sexual morality and lots of moral rules that. You know, I think morality is good, but of course, definitions of morality really differ from person to person. But you know, it's almost a cliche in our society that Christianity can be very, very oppressive and not spiritual, and in some cases even be hateful and cause harm. Did the Guild sort of tackle these issues, address these issues, have insights into these issues?
I think what she actually does is avoid them completely. And she avoids them completely by stripping it, anything away from theology, stripping it away from ethics, stripping it back, wrapping the whole thing back to a pure essence of this is simply an opportunity to meet with God. But
Right.
she's not interested in, doesn't write a massive theology. She doesn't get involved with the ethics of life. This is a devotional practice open to people. Come along and engage with it.
Right. And so you mentioned, the material in this book that you put out is articles and commentaries that she wrote to sort of explain, enlighten people to the nature of the Master Jesus, what she's trying to do with the guild. When you showed up at the Sunday for the Mass, would she give a lecture, or would somebody give a lecture? Would there be a sermon? Would that be sort of included in that live experience, or did she write this material for people to study later, or how would that sort of work?
So the material exists separately. That was on the side. That was for people that were interested, wanted to know more, to be able to take, to read, and engage with. During the service itself, there would have been a traditional section of a sermon, a short talk given on a reading, a teaching from the Christian service. We don't have any examples of that left. There are no surviving pieces of evidence that tell us what they actually did, what they talked about. Unfortunately, what we have left is simply her articles and the rituals themselves that were written between her and Loveday. So I can't say with any certainty this is what they spoke on, but the direction is that there would be a period of exegesis. It's explanation of text, explanation of Christian faith, but it would have been in terms of a more mystical side rather than a down-to-earth book we know.
Right. Okay. In your opinion, is the Guild of the Master Jesus a timely and relevant spiritual path for the modern era, or is it more of a historical curiosity, or if not as harsh as historical curiosity, just something from the past that maybe a modern esotericist, mystic, cultist, Christian could read your book and get a little from, but it's not really relevant to the here and the now?
I think both points are true. I think we could look at it and say, this is an old factor, historical, it's fast, it's 1920s and 30s, so what? But as I began to work on it, read those articles, engage with the service itself, I came to realize that actually she's got a very powerful message here. She talks a lot, both in her novels and in her other writing, about the inner life, the light of God, the light of Christ, the light of the Spirit being within religious movements. And she was very much aware that the light for her had gone out within the Church of England, or was at least failing. And she wanted something new. And in many ways, that resonated very strongly to me. And in the 21st century, I studied theology. I've had a very wide personal religious life. And when I came to this, I got excited. I got excited because here was someone, she talking about something which seemed more relevant to me than anything else. We look at the evangelical Pentecostal movement going back to the Spirit, but it's happy clappy, which isn't for me. I wanted something that was serious, that's relevant. And I know lots of people out there who feel the same, who don't want to say Christianity's dying, let's move on. And I'll be honest, for many years I was a pagan, that's where I was, but slowly through my work, I got Christianity, back to my roots. By finding this book, it suddenly, here was a spirituality that I think is out for everyone. Where she began, it was for the few. But today, I think it's ready for the men. I think she was writing something that came too early. But with the developments and the changes that we have now, totally relevant for the 21st century, for an evolving, changing religion spirituality. I think it's something that can carry our spirituality and on into the Aquarian age stage. We've had 2,000 years of Pauline Christianity, and I think one of the key concepts in my book that I write about is Pauline Christianity it won the battle, but it isn't necessarily the Christianity that was intended. Certainly, if we look at modern theological scholars, we look at people like Albert Barker, who talks about that Jesus wasn't creating, Paul created, he was trying to get the Jews to go back first to Judaism, which is very convincing. And there are other theologians that Paul is doing a very interesting job in creating some Judaism. I think here is that in the 30s, Dion Fortune coming along and saying, enough, let's stop. But she hasn't yet got that theology in place. She hasn't had those people that I mentioned who've done the work kids stuff. I wonder now, if she were alive, how excited she'd be by some of that. In creating a simpler Christianity, on the open Christianity, a Christianity that actually can speak to all of us, that doesn't hide us right doctrine, tradition, stuffiness of church, but offers a direct, arranged, open way to meet God and have that deeper religious experience, which is really what the whole church should.
Well, I think that's a powerful place to wrap up. Christian, thank you so much. It's been enlightening, both for me and I know for our listeners and watchers. Everybody, get the book. Anybody watching at home, you've seen I've been throwing up the address of the publisher. It's holythornpress.com. Go there, order your copy. To help us keep the show alive, Talk Gnosis, it's patreon.com/Gnostic. You can donate for as little as $1 per piece of media per month. Please double check. It's per piece of media per month. We have some rewards listed on the website. I need to update that because we don't really give you anything for helping us out. Lots of people do. But what a lot of podcasts do is they put extra material behind a paywall. I'm not judging that, of course, people need to eat. But we want to get this knowledge, this wisdom, this gnosis, these great guests out to everyone for free. We're always thinking of ways to give back to anybody who donates to us. So if you have any suggestions, just hit us up and maybe we can implement that. One thing we do is give you early access to the shows whenever we actually record in advance. Sometimes we record in advance, sometimes it's the day before we're going to release. And that's because I've recently had a baby. I'm going to use that as an excuse for the next 18 years. You can do one-time donations at paypal.me/Gnostic. Christian, thanks again. Awesome show, awesome insights, and I really hope that Dion Fortune's work does continue because I feel like what you're saying was right. It's almost like a message meant for us. So a time capsule that's been buried, and you've dug it up, and hopefully we can all get a lot out of what was going on and what is going on with the Guild of the Master Jesus. Thanks again.
You're welcome.